What's up? This is HDNEWS here. So I'm talking about this video is about about my future plans for the YouTube channel, and it's save money for the channel. I mean for the new computer. As well as running Linux OSs and trying them out and putting on the channel. Because when I was younger, I did have a Linux OS that my dad tried, ubuntu back then, and they included the CDs for free. They would basically tell them you wanted it, and then they would send you a couple copies of it. And back then those were CDRs, which was around 700 megs. Now they're like 3-4 gigabytes each, and for download you don't have to have. But if you want to, you can always buy their USB sticks or their DVD discs, those blank ones that have it on it, where they burn it and they put it online, Or you can just download the OS on an ISO file, which is a file where you can burn the whole entire OS, the free one, to a DVD-R, or just basically a USB drive that you don't mind giving up. And yeah, back then you could actually boot into Windows XP and then boot into the Linux environment and do things with it basically back then. And I think that was done on my first Windows XP machine. It was basically the first AMD one, and that one wasn't near the specs of this current hardware I got, but I'm going to have to save up for a new one anyway because it's overdue. So they do release every 6 months or more with these things, and they got like 18 months for support, I believe. There's some amount of years they'll say on their website. There also is Majaro, wherever it is, as well. That's like a different OS. It's basically, I don't think it's Ubuntu, but Ubuntu's not doing as well lately since they went away from the Unity, and that was the kind of thing I liked back in the day when they were doing it, where it was easier. You could have a different desktop environment, and they went back to like they used to be with the No Glome or wherever it was, that Windows desktop environment manager. So yeah, I did like Ubuntu back in the day. It wasn't as good as it is now, but it's still, I want to be able to run it on my computer because I got an Apple, and technically that's not technically Windows hardware, but you don't have to just buy a Linux desktop or a laptop because any PC can pretty much run these kind of OS, so these free OSs basically, which are technically not free. First, like Zorin, I think you have to pay for that, and a lot of these big companies like Microsoft and all of them, they make sure even through donations, they keep keep the OS free. So it's open source. They test it. You can even run virtual machines, which there's a YouTuber who does it, and he puts out a lot of YouTube videos about the desktop and all. It doesn't really matter what PC it really is. It's just you have to have install this, and of course back up. And a lot of the times now that I heard, you can actually boot into a recovery without having to install anything extra. Like you don't have to put it in a USB drive as well as a CDR, DVD. But if you want to try the OS, you don't have to install it. You can just boot into the live version of it, which has been back in since Ubuntu's been out in 2007, where they had like live boot up mode where you can actually boot into the OS and not install it to your desktop. And you gotta be careful because back in the day when I had my Windows Vista HP computer, I actually formatted my OS, and then we had to order one of those recovery kits to actually install the Windows back onto it. So that's something I don't do anymore. if I would do it, it'd be on a separate drive for sure, and I don't. It'd be through virtualization through that virtual box, more likely than just having it on a separate drive. But that's always possible. But Ubuntu's been changing so much that I've been staying away from it for a while, and they just released them. I think the next version should come out in April, I think. And usually, depending on the hardware, you can always build a computer and then run it on there and just not have to pay for. I mean, gaming is possible now on Linux for sure. A lot of Linus Tech Tips. I watch him a lot, and they prove it. Linux is becoming more game-like for compared to Windows being a different, even if being free and still able to do it regardless. So that's really good, which is shocking. I never thought they would. They probably do it through emulation through software, so they're actually not technically running the OS, but it's emulation where it will run, and they've been able to run some good games. And that's what they basically recommend, build your own PC or buy a pre-built or get a desktop, because it doesn't matter what kind of computer it really is. As long as it has the specs to run the OS, basically, it should be good. They even make a version that's lighter in weight. I can't remember what it is. I gotta look it up one of these days again. But it's one of those lighter Ubuntu OS. It's the lightest they can possibly be for a low spec machine, as mine is right now at the moment. But I think I might begin my computer with 16 gigs maybe, or 32, depending how much money I got and how much I really need it, as well as a video card to do editing. A pretty good one probably, because I'm only using an Intel GPU at the moment with all the graphics being made by the Intel, as well as the sound and all. So that's something I wanted for years, to have a desktop with its own graphic card and sound and everything else custom made. I know they sell them at Best Buy. I would have to go in there with my parents. And most likely the ones they got at the store, I probably would not buy, because there's not enough of the hardware to do, for this occasion for YouTube and other things. And that's okay, because you can always use their store to order anything online on their website, basically. And that might probably will be the option. I know I probably will have to open the desktop once I get it and get the foam out, because they put foam in there, and I've been watching a lot of those reviews for those unboxings over the years with this iBuyPower, these other gaming desktops that are pre-built, even custom ordered, and most of the time they have a little warning on the side of the case where the transparent side panel is, where it has foam, take this out before you turn on your machine, or you'll definitely ruin it. And there's been some bad deliveries of these machines over the years, especially a gaming desktop, where somehow the shipping company who shipped it broke the components inside. I'm not joking. I watched it a couple of years ago. I forgot what the video was. But the desktop was completely trash. There's no way the person could use it. And I think they got replaced, or he basically got it replaced. Basically, he had to send it back and definitely got it worked on. Got a different one in. So I hope that doesn't happen to me, because I even looked at the computer I wanted for the iBuyPower, and there were a lot of some of those negative reviews. And it's one of those where you had the side panel on the side, and you had the graphics on the side panel, it's like its own second display. But apparently I've been seeing a lot on Best Buy on the app, where after 3 months that display stops working or something else goes wrong. And for $1,300, I don't think I'm going to spend that much money, including taxes and all that, if something goes wrong in 3 months. And I think that's 3 or 4% of the ratings, but still, that's probably a high chance. There's even one with it being sent broken and then just breaking eventually. And you gotta watch for the computers you buy online, of course, or in the store, that they're actually good rated and that will basically last, because that's one thing I do not want to deal with, is that machine that breaks down the road. And it's a possibility of 3 months, and it's like not really worth it. I can spend about $1,800 or a little bit cheaper than that if I can get a good deal on the Intel. It may not have those features, but it will have probably a higher graphic card and more RAM. But there are better reviews I looked at, and I don't know. There was one, I think it's like near $2,000 for the i9 version of that Snowblind, where you have the Intel and all that on the side of the panel. And I don't know how that would not last over 3 months, with all those LEDs flashing all in there, and then being ultra bright if you open the case, of course. But yeah, they had to run one of those secondary display cables from the back of the video card to the side panel to adapters and do a box gen back built into the case, basically. So I'm not looking forward to it. That was something I probably would plan to be good for my channel, but I'm not taking a risk of breaking in 3 months. Sorry. 90 days. How about 11 years or more, or like 10 years or so, where I won't have any trouble? That sounds like a safe bet, but at the moment, that desktop is not worth me buying for the money it is, if I ever get the money in the first place. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe and comment, like below. Thanks for watching.